Guilt and shame in recovery. How did you deal with all the guilt and the shame from the shit that you did during your active addiction? How did you get over that? How did you move on from that? Well, I'm going to answer that question. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the Hope Chase. Welcome to the shit show. Who the hell am I? I'm Angie, and I was a junkie, dope fiend, heroin addict, among other things, for almost 20 years of my life. 20 years I spent in active addiction. 17 of those years I was addicted to heroin, benzos, all the things. This is my puppy child, India. She's the most beautiful in the whole world. Now I'm in my 5th year in recovery, which is fucking bananas, because the longest clean time I could ever put together throughout 17 years of my heroin addiction was 11 days. It's wild. Life is good today. And I share my story online to help convince you that this recovery thing is fucking possible. Because trust me, after 17 years of jails, detox, so many fucking detoxes, I can't even count. Hospital stays, almost losing limbs due to my heroin addiction. I have a 10+ page criminal record. I'm a convicted felon. I'm not special. There's nothing special about me. Anyone can have recovery. You just have to want it. Addiction turned me into a liar, a manipulator, a thief. I was a criminal. I stole from family. I lied. I cheated. I was a con artist. I think a lot of us that have a hard time overcoming the guilt and the shame is because, number one, we're not forgiving ourselves. And number two is because we think genuinely that we're bad people. Well, let me tell you, you're not a bad person. You're not a scumbag. You're not a piece of shit. You were in active addiction. For me, I did whatever I could to get what I needed. I turned myself into whoever I needed to be. If I had to be a criminal, I was a criminal. If I had to lie, I lied. If I had to steal, I stole, without even thinking about any of the consequences. And I take responsibility for those things. I did those things because at the time, it doesn't feel like we have the choice. But there's always a choice. There's always a fucking choice. I could have chosen not to break the law. I could have chosen not to get high, but that would have meant that I had to get sick. And the fear of getting sick just kept me sicker. When it came to letting go and moving past all of the things that I did, it's really about a mindset shift. For me, everything, my recovery, everything is about my fucking mindset. Changing my mindset completely changed my entire fucking life. Once I really came to the conclusion and realized and understood that I was in survival mode. When we're in active addiction, we're in survival mode. We honestly don't think we have the choice. We do what we think we need to do to get what we think we need to get. When it comes to physical addiction, I was physically addicted to more than one substance. So when your body is literally sick and needs something to get better, it can feel so impossible to make any kind of different choice, because at the time I was willing to face the worst consequences just so I didn't have to get sick. Go to jail? Sure, let's go. Get arrested again? Sure. Where's the handcuffs? Go boosting and steal a bunch of shit? Sure. Where's the emergency exit? Sign me up. I'll do whatever the fuck I have to do to get what I need to get. I literally thought it was life or death. And I also came to understand that in order to move on from that, I needed to forgive myself for all the things that I did while I was in survival mode. Not to say that active addiction is any kind of excuse. I take responsibility for the shit that I did. I wholeheartedly know that I made the decision to do those things. But I also know that that's not who I really am. And at the end of the day, what it came down to for me was, as soon as I started to live a life that I didn't have to be ashamed of, as soon as I started to 100% live a life that I was proud of, that my parents would be proud of, that people I knew would be proud of, it became so much easier to get over the guilt and the shame from the past. It became so much easier to have a clear conscience. I talk about this all the time. Having a clear conscience is such freedom. Doing the right thing, doing the next right thing in every situation, feeling proud of yourself on a daily basis. That helps so much in letting go, because you slowly start to convince yourself that you're not that person, that you thought you were during active addiction. It really came down to loving myself. So when I started this journey of mine, I continued to know better and still not do better. I stayed selling drugs, I stayed getting arrested, I stayed miserable over a year after I stopped using dope. I'm curious to know, and there must be a correlation between feeling intense guilt and shame and not being able to kind of move past that, and having people, a lot of people, or people that you're surrounded with who are constantly judging you. If you're surrounded by people who are placing judgments on you or not accepting you for who you are, or judging your addiction, it's gonna be even that much harder to get over your guilt and shame, because we are who we surround ourselves with. If you're surrounding yourself with people who aren't supportive and are continuing to judge you, I challenge you to set some hard boundaries. I challenge you to walk away from those people. I can only imagine you're continuing to judge yourself, and the guilt and feeling the guilt and the shame is evidence that you're just continuing to judge yourself. Once we let go of the judgment and finally start to forgive ourselves, that's when we can let all that shit go. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying that setting boundaries, separating yourself from negativity and from judgmental people. Judgmenty. Is that even a word? That's not even a word. Here, I'm like making up words now. But I was also very lucky in the way that my dad, who I talk about a lot, who died right before I stopped using. Neither one of my parents got to see me in recovery, unfortunately. And I held on to a lot of guilt and shame. And sometimes it can creep up still. But I also know better. I know that he loved me. I know that he didn't judge me based on the things that I was doing. And the shit that I put them through. I can't imagine how many sleepless nights that they had. I can't imagine the guilt that they felt themselves. I wish I could say, you didn't do anything. There's nothing that you did. I wish I could tell them how great of parents they were. I know that they know, and I know that they see me, but that was one of the hardest things for me to let go of. The things that I did, I stole from my dad while he was dying in the fucking hospital. I've cried many tears over that because for a long time, I couldn't forgive myself. I was like, what the fuck kind of piece of shit, excuse my language, what kind of piece of crap person steals from their parent while they're dying in the hospital? But again, I also know that that's not who I am. Now that I know that I'm living a life that would make both of them proud, making myself proud, I have nothing to hide. I have a clear conscience. I can sleep at night, and I am consistently aware of the energy that I put out to the world. Doing good things always comes back to you. What you put out always comes back. The forgiveness really began once I really started to take care of myself. I went years living in filth, wearing filthy clothes, not doing laundry, having blood stains and cigarette burns all over my clothes, just treating myself like garbage, using my body as a pincushion, ignoring infections, not taking care of myself at all. As soon as I started to prioritize my own self and started to learn truly how to care for myself, caring for myself, and prioritized loving myself, that's when growth really started to happen for me. And it was hard. Learning how to care for myself was probably one of the hardest things I've had to do throughout these last 5 years. Just showering on a regular basis, doing laundry on a regular basis, just the littlest things, eating good food, meditating, journaling, spending time in nature, things that made me genuinely feel good. It took a while. That's when I started to truly forgive myself and was able to move on and accept my past for what it is. Because the truth of the matter is, we can't go back in time. Nobody can change anything. We cannot change anything. We cannot move forward if we're constantly looking back. We just have to accept it. There is literally nothing else to do. Another thing that helped me so fucking much with acceptance, my spirituality. I'm not going to sit here and say that you have to be a spiritual person in order to let go of shame and guilt, but it's helped me so much. When I started to meditate and to learn really and change my mindset and my thinking, it unintentionally connected me to my spirituality, which in turn gave me this inner knowing that everything happens for a reason, and that every single thing that has happened in my life happened for a reason in order for me to be standing here right now in this moment doing this video. Every single thing, whether it be the littlest thing or the biggest thing, and especially the worst and the lowest of my times, it became that much easier, and I felt and feel that much more at peace with my past and the things that have happened in my life, because I can truly accept them now, because I know that it all had to happen for me to essentially find myself and to choose myself and to find recovery. So if you find yourself really getting down and beating yourself up over things that you may have done during your addiction, just remember, it all had to happen. You might not see the reason yet, you might not know the why, but trust me, give it time and the reason will reveal itself. It's like a domino effect. It's like you make one right decision and you start taking care of yourself, and it just kind of ripples into everything else. Acceptance, forgiveness, self-love, self-care, all the things that are needed to get over this guilt and shame shit that we all deal with. Some worse than others, I get it. But it starts with forgiving yourself, because we were all just in survival mode. We were all just trying to survive, trying to get by, trying to live second by second, minute by minute, day by day during active addiction. It's fucking hard. For me, it was exhausting. Taking responsibility for your own actions. There's no victims here. I had to take responsibility. I did what I did. Yes, it doesn't make me a bad person. No, we can do hard things. That is so important to know. You can do hard things. You can do this. Stop telling yourself that you can't, because the only reason why it's so difficult is because you're telling yourself that you can't do something. It's a constant journey, something that truly never ends, but it does get easier and easier and easier, I promise. Because if I can do this, trust me, so can you. I think that's all I have to say on this. Okay, that's it. Like and subscribe. Okay, I love you. Thanks, bye.